NBC has announced plans for a spin-off to the hit series Suits, which will be set in Los Angeles. It will focus on Meghan Markle's character's struggle to balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed immigrant.
He's called Meghan Markle and says he feels sorry for Prince Harry because his wife is a lot to deal with.
Turns out Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will still get paid millions of dollars for doing absolutely nothing.
If you came up with the picture of an annoying, insufferable white woman, it would be Meghan Markle, even though she's not one.
The moment Colin Jost looked straight into that Saturday Night Live camera and casually dropped his bombshell about a UK-US trade deal, Meghan Markle's carefully orchestrated world shattered in real time. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two, he smirked as Harry and Meghan's photo flashed behind him. The studio audience didn't just laugh, they erupted in the kind of cathartic release that comes from finally hearing someone say what everyone's been thinking. But that SNL joke wasn't just the match that lit the fuse. Within hours, the internet detectives were out in full force, and suddenly those mysterious yacht photos from Meghan's pre-royal days started surfacing everywhere. The same images her PR team had spent years scrubbing from every platform, and this time there was no stopping the digital avalanche. Fans saw this coming from day one, and now we're watching the most satisfying meltdown in Hollywood history unfold exactly as predicted. Fans have been waiting for this moment for years, and Colin Jost just handed everyone the validation that was inevitable. When he delivered that perfect one-liner about the UK demanding America keep Harry and Meghan as part of their trade deal, it wasn't just comedy, it was a public execution disguised as Weekend Update. And every single person in that studio knew exactly what he was really saying. Let's break down exactly why this moment was so devastating. Jost didn't just make a throwaway joke about two irrelevant celebrities. He gave mainstream America official permission to stop pretending on the Harry and Meghan matter. The setup was brilliant, discussing a so-called actual trade deal with the UK, then delivering the punchline that positioned the Sussexes as unwanted baggage that nobody wanted to claim. The audience reaction tells everyone everything they need to know about where public sentiment really stands. This wasn't polite comedy club chuckling. That was years of frustration finally finding an outlet. We could hear the collective "finally." Someone said it rippling through the studio as people realized they weren't alone in their Sussex fatigue.
She was what I could see from the beginning, who was just using opportunities to advance herself.
This week, maybe the 7 days where Meghan Markle and Prince Harry officially become connected to one word.
But here's what makes this absolutely perfect. Jost positioned the audience as intelligent insiders who already understood the subtext. He didn't explain why the trade deal joke was funny. He assumed everyone watching already knew that Harry and Meghan had become global embarrassments. That's the ultimate validation of fan intelligence, while mainstream media was still treating them like victims. Remember when fans predicted that Hollywood eventually turn on Meghan once they realized she was using them as props in her publicity campaigns? Saturday Night Live just proved that prediction was absolutely right, and the timing couldn't be more telling. This joke came just weeks after Meghan's latest desperate attempts to stay relevant, and SNL's writers clearly recognized the same patterns fans have been documenting for years. The beauty of comedy is in its ability to crystallize public sentiment in ways that traditional journalism can't. When SNL decides someone is fair game for mockery, it signals to the entire entertainment industry that the protection they once enjoyed has officially expired. Colin's joke wasn't just entertainment, it was Hollywood's official declaration that the Sussex brand is now considered toxic waste.
You gotta love it when an American broadcast television network and a comedy institution like Saturday Night Live takes a swipe showing how much of a B Meghan Markle is.
Fans understood before anyone else that Meghan's victim narrative would eventually collapse under the weight of its own contradictions. Her demands for privacy while living the most public existence imaginable, her claims of racism while abandoning every person of color who helped her climb the social ladder, her positioning as a feminist icon while treating female staff like disposable servants. All of it was unsustainable. And SNL just confirmed that fan analysis was spot on. What happened immediately after Colin's joke proves exactly why fan media forecasting skills are so superior to mainstream journalism. While entertainment reporters were still trying to figure out whether the SNL segment was mean-spirited, fans and thousands of other intelligent observers were already connecting the dots and asking the real questions. The yacht photo resurgence wasn't random. It was the internet's collective response to finally having permission to investigate the inconsistencies fans have been pointing out for years. Those grainy images that Meghan's team had spent millions scrubbing from search results suddenly became impossible to suppress because comedy had opened the floodgates of curiosity. Fans recognized immediately that this wasn't about judging Meghan's past behavior. It was about exposing the calculated deception behind her constructed image. The same woman who positioned herself as an authentic voice for the marginalized had apparently spent years erasing evidence of a lifestyle that contradicted every value she claimed to represent.
A new trade deal with the UK that
I gotta start and stop because they get litigious. Here it
will
comes.
reopen British markets for American companies. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
No! No! I refuse! I'm sick of it!
The most satisfying aspect of Colin's joke is just how it exposes the economic calculations that drive every decision in the entertainment industry. When Saturday Night Live openly mocks someone's brand, it sends a clear message to streaming platforms, fashion houses, and commercial partners that association with them is no longer profitable. Netflix executives were reportedly watching that SNL segment very carefully because it represents the kind of cultural shift that directly impacts their investment decisions. The streaming giant had been counting on Harry and Meghan's brand maintaining some level of public sympathy to justify their massive content deals. But Colin's joke proved that sympathy has completely evaporated. The luxury brands that once lined up to dress Meghan for events have been quietly separating themselves for months, and SNL just gave them the perfect cover to make those departures official. When the comedy establishment treats someone as a punchline rather than a personality, it signals to every other industry player that their influence has expired. Fan documentation of systematic celebrity departures from Meghan's circle has been vindicated in the most public way possible. The same pattern fans identified: initial enthusiasm followed by gradual cooling followed by complete abandonment, has now been confirmed by mainstream entertainment's most influential platform. Ellen DeGeneres, who once defended Meghan publicly, hasn't mentioned her name in over a year. The Clooneys, who attended the royal wedding and were positioned as Meghan's Hollywood validators, have maintained complete radio silence about their former friends. Even Oprah, who built her entire relationship with Meghan on their shared interview, has been conspicuously absent from any recent Sussex celebrations. Fans understood that these departures weren't personal, they were strategic business decisions by people who recognized that Harry and Meghan's brand had become a liability. Saturday Night Live just confirmed that fan analysis of Hollywood risk calculation process was absolutely accurate.
Is it a bad look for Meghan to still refer to herself a royal?
What makes this SNL moment so personally satisfying is how it validates every observation fans have made about the gap between Meghan's public image and private behavior. We saw through her victim narrative when entertainment journalists were still treating her PR statements as gospel truth. While we were watching Meghan's public humiliation unfold on Saturday Night Live, here's what was really happening behind Hollywood's closed doors. And it's even more devastating than anyone imagined. The yacht photo controversy that exploded after Colin's joke wasn't just internet curiosity, it was the entertainment industry's way of sending a clear message that Harry and Meghan's protection racket has officially ended.
She went through was not racism. It was just some in-law. So she's complaining. I'm like, what the is she talking about? No, they're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby was gonna be. They're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people want to know.
You want to understand how Hollywood's rumor mill really operates? The yacht photo resurgence that followed SNL's joke represents a masterclass in strategic information warfare that most people completely missed. These weren't random images that accidentally surfaced. They were carefully preserved evidence that industry insiders had been sitting on for years, waiting for the right moment to deploy. The photos that went viral after Colin's joke tell a story that Meghan's PR team had spent millions trying to erase. Images allegedly showing her at Mediterranean yacht parties with wealthy men, champagne in hand, designer swimwear, strategically positioned, all contradicting the struggling actress narrative that she's used to justify her royal marriage as a fairy tale romance rather than calculated social climbing. What's really damaging is how these images connect to a broader pattern of strategic omissions from Meghan's official biography. The same woman who positioned herself as an authentic voice for the marginalized had apparently spent years cultivating relationships with exactly the kind of powerful men she later claimed to be fighting against. Industry sources reveal that these photos weren't discovered by internet detectives. They were leaked by people within the entertainment industry who had grown tired of protecting someone who had betrayed everyone who helped her climb the social ladder. The timing wasn't coincidental, it was coordinated. Here's the insider knowledge that explains why Meghan's usual defenders went completely silent after the yacht photos surfaced. Major talent agencies have internal protocols for managing celebrities who become association risks, and the Sussex brand has been quietly placed on what's internally called the toxic client list. This isn't official policy because that would create legal liability. Instead, it operates through understood industry practices that work through whispered conversations and strategic scheduling. Publicists actively advise their high-profile clients to avoid professional collaborations, social media interactions, or even friendly public exchanges with anyone whose brand could contaminate their own reputation. The yacht photos gave these agencies perfect justification for their existing reluctance to associate their clients with the Sussex brand. They can now point to concrete evidence that Meghan's selective authenticity claims and frame avoidance as protecting their clients from association with someone whose public statements don't match their private behavior. What makes this particularly brutal is how the silence spreads throughout the industry ecosystem. When major agencies start steering their talent away from someone, it creates a cascading effect that impacts everything from event invitations to casual social interaction. Party planners develop mysterious scheduling conflicts. Charity organizers become reluctant to extend speaking invitations. And collaboration opportunities that once seemed promising suddenly encounter unexpected complications.
And it's not looking good for these two little hucksters over in Montecito. Okay, the Duke and Duchess of Scam-A-Lot, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, their has run dry.
Behind closed doors at Netflix's headquarters, executives are engaged in what sources describe as full-scale damage assessment regarding their partnership with Harry and Meghan. The streaming giant had invested heavily in the royal connection, but the yacht photo controversy represents exactly the kind of authenticity crisis that makes their content strategy impossible to defend. Internal viewership data reveals that Meghan's solo projects consistently underperform compared to content featuring other personalities, and the yacht photos provide perfect context for understanding why audiences have been rejecting her brand. Her cooking show generated significantly less engagement than similar lifestyle programming, while her podcast efforts were quietly shelved after failing to meet basic performance benchmarks. What's really damaging is how the yacht photo scandal affects Netflix's broader content strategy with other celebrities. High-profile guests who might have appeared on Meghan's shows are now actively avoiding association that could damage their own brands by connecting them to someone whose authenticity is under question. Netflix executives are reportedly discussing whether to quietly let the Sussex deal expire rather than risk renewal negotiations that could become public relations disasters. The yacht photos provide perfect cover for this decision because they can frame it as a response to Meghan's inconsistent public image rather than acknowledgement that her content simply doesn't perform well enough to justify continued investment.
The Bench was a flop. The Netflix documentary was a flop. The Disney narration was a flop. The podcast was a flop. The Netflix series was a flop.
Let's go back to 2018, when most of the media was still enchanted by the royal wedding spectacle and the narrative of a biracial American actress revolutionizing the monarchy. Fans saw something completely different. They noticed how Meghan's own family was being excluded from her big day, how her father was treated with calculated cruelty, and how she seemed to be more interested in the global platform than the actual responsibilities of royal life. While mainstream outlets were praising her modern approach to royal duties, fans observed the staff turnover, the demands for special treatment, and the way she positioned herself as the victim in every conflict. The prediction that someone with her pattern of burning bridges and blaming others wouldn't be able to maintain the Hollywood relationships she was counting on for her post-royal career, and that proved remarkably accurate. The fan timeline was spot on. They predicted the Oprah interview would backfire long-term because it revealed character traits that would eventually alienate her from the very people she needed as allies. Fans saw through the victim narrative and understood that powerful people in Hollywood value discretion and loyalty, qualities Meghan demonstrated she didn't possess when she publicly attacked the institution that made her globally relevant. While mainstream outlets once praised Meghan Markle for her modern approach to royal duties, the devastating reality of 2025 has validated every prediction fans made about her unsustainable behavior patterns. The growing body of evidence suggests that public sentiment and industry reception have taken a sharp negative turn that goes far beyond typical celebrity backlash. Fans observed a troubling pattern years ago, a revolving door of staff turnover, escalating demands for preferential treatment, and a persistent inclination to portray herself as a victim in every public dispute. This betrayal has proven completely unsustainable in ways that have exceeded even the most pessimistic predictions. Recent polling data underscores a declining tide in public favorability that represents nothing short of a reputational collapse, with Meghan's popularity reaching record lows of just 20% approval in the UK. The increased scrutiny has coincided with the faltering reception of her various media ventures, which have struggled to gain traction despite multi-million-dollar deals that were supposed to secure her financial independence.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's deal with Netflix, they just announced this morning, it has come to an end as we know it. This $100 million deal is boom, kaput, done.
The most damning evidence of fans' predictive accuracy comes from Meghan's Netflix performance data. Her series, With Love Meghan, despite initial fanfare and Netflix's massive promotional investment, failed catastrophically to capture sustained viewer attention. According to Netflix's mid-year report for 2025, the show ranked an unimpressive 383rd in viewership, gathering just 5.3 million views since its March debut. This performance is humiliating when compared to Suits, the show that initially introduced audiences to Meghan, which still outperformed her current projects with 9.3 million views for just its first season, ranking at 151. The irony is devastating. Audiences are more interested in watching Meghan's old work than anything she's produced since becoming globally famous through her royal connection.
I think it was number 380 something, 350 something on the charts. Anything that low is not good, okay? You're calling yourself a duchess, you're calling yourself royalty, and we're using the term royalty loosely, okay, Meghan Markle? You should at least be in the top 100.
Criticism has extended far beyond viewership numbers into the fundamental authenticity issues that fans identified years before mainstream media caught on. Meghan faced sharp reviews for her lack of genuine culinary training and the overly curated nature of her public persona. Critics noted that her cooking demonstrations felt painful to watch because of her obvious inexperience, while her expensive Le Creuset cookware became a symbol of how disconnected she is from her supposed target audience. The launch of her lifestyle brand, As Ever, represented another attempt to pivot away from her failing ventures. Yet this effort has been marred by fresh accusations of plagiarism and lack of originality. Her podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, drew immediate comparisons to existing successful formats, with critics noting the title appeared to be the same name plus a thesaurus as Steve Bartlett's acclaimed series. Meanwhile, public perception has become unforgivingly harsh in ways that validate fan intelligence about her character. A May 2025 YouGov poll revealed that only 20% of the British public held a favorable view of Meghan, compared to 65% expressing negative opinions. This represents a catastrophic decline from her 55% approval rating shortly after her marriage to Prince Harry. In the United States, similar declines in favorability reflect growing skepticism about her motives and public image, with nearly half of Americans now holding unfavorable views of the Duchess. The polling reveals a generational divide that further undermines her long-term prospects, with older demographics showing strong negative sentiment.
She is the most insecure person I have seen in the public eye in a long time. That is why everything had to be perfectly curated. Who the hell picks berries in a white cashmere and white pants? Literally no one on earth does that. And like this garden, which is like the most over the top.
Perhaps most telling, industry insiders reveal that Meghan's relationship with Hollywood and the entertainment industry is increasingly fraught, exactly as fans predicted would happen once her usefulness expired. High-profile friends have separated themselves, and major collaborations have faltered under the weight of negative publicity that she can no longer control or manipulate. Financial pressures are mounting as the couple faces the end of lucrative deals with streaming giants like Netflix, with industry insiders openly questioning whether future collaborations are economically viable. The couple's production company Archewell has produced consistently underperforming content, with Harry's Polo series attracting merely 500,000 views and a ranking at 3,436. Most damagingly, Meghan's recent public appearances have exposed the very disconnect that fans identified from the beginning. When confronted with criticism about her expensive lifestyle choices during economic hardship, she responded with bewildered incredulity. This is a thing in 2025? The response perfectly encapsulates the entitled mindset that fans recognize would eventually alienate the very audiences she needed to maintain her relevance. Despite these mounting challenges, Meghan continues to announce upcoming projects, including a second season of her Netflix show and an expansion of her lifestyle brand. However, fans and industry insiders remain deeply skeptical about the likelihood of success for these endeavors, given the current climate of reputational collapse and financial uncertainty that their predictions warned was inevitable.